It is the messaging service of the moment. It is called Wickr, and it's a encrypted over-the-top messaging service. Over-the-top means it goes over the internet. Now, it has become very popular because Malcolm Turnbull has said he uses it. But exactly what the hell is it? We are here in studio with Harry Tucker from news.com.au and technology journalist Claire Porter. Walk me through it. Exactly what does it do?
Wickr is a text messaging app that encrypts all of your communications so that should the prying eyes of ASIO, the NSA, or anyone on the internet get a hold of your phone or your communications, you'd still need a key to unscramble them. What you'd have is just a bunch of scrambled data. It doesn't make sense until you can unlock it. But without the key, that communication remains private.
Excellent. So just paint me a visual picture. Harry, what does it look like when I open it up and when I'm trying to communicate with somebody? Is it slower because it has to go through that process?
No. It's sort of, to you, it looks exactly the same. It's like opening up probably close to like a WhatsApp-y type of interface. And there's a countdown. So your messages can last anywhere from like 6 seconds to 6 days. And it'll count down there like a bomb ticker. And then when it hits the timer, it just explodes and your message is gone forever.
Please tell me there's a little animation there.
There is. Yes, it explodes. The whole screen.
No wonder Malcolm likes it. So
The entire phone.
It has a big flaw though, the fact that you can screenshot. So you can send your stuff, if you want to keep it private forever, people can still screenshot your message. That's a big flaw.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but if you have Snapchat and you screenshot it before it gets deleted, doesn't it tell the person that
Yeah, but there's still nothing they can do about it.
Yeah, it's still saved on the other person.
Is there an equivalent of that for Wickr? Does anyone know?
Not that I've seen.
No idea.
So in that argument, perhaps are you slightly better off with Snapchat because it seems like the functionality is a little bit broader?
I would sooner recommend Wickr than Snapchat for security. Also, I might just add for Snapchat users, since the introduction of My Story, I think people are starting to kind of forget the privacy aspect. I saw a pretty disturbing photo of a pretty large stash of drugs on someone's photo stream on Snapchat. I don't know what they think they're doing, but that photo, while it may have disappeared to the person they sent it to, it's still sitting on your profile.
Somebody once sent me a Snapchat of them racking up a line of cocaine off the front cover of a book that I wrote many years ago.
That's a bad idea.
And then I definitely screenshotted that.
Just like, don't send that stuff over the internet on your phone, ever.
What are the best means of having encrypted conversations these days?
You can have encryption at your modem level, which I would recommend for all people. Then you can have encryption on all of your devices. You can decide whether you want to have encryption just for your text messages and use an app like Wickr. Or I guess you could download an app which lets you do all of the above. I'm fairly sure WhatsApp encrypts everything and it's video, audio, text. But I don't know the finer details of where that would sit within potential data retention concerns.
There is a broader issue here of Malcolm Turnbull using an encrypted messaging service while still wanting to collect the metadata of, 26 million Australians. Is there an inherent hypocrisy in that?
Isn't that telling that one of the main supporters of the government's proposed mandatory data retention scheme is advocating for the entire government to be using encryption messaging apps to avoid the prying eyes of intelligence agencies and hackers worldwide? It seems like one of those, a wink's as good as a nod to a blind man, It just seems like a bit of a wink to the audience, an in-joke to say this is exactly my thoughts on this scheme and I'm trying to give the public as much knowledge that they can arm themselves with as possible to avoid having their data collected in the first place. The retention scheme is up in the air. I'd be very disappointed if Labor voted with the government on this, but the fact that Mr. Turnbull has come so ardently in support of encryption apps, I think is pretty telling.
It's very, very hypocritical that you've got someone like Malcolm there whose party is supporting this metadata retention, yet here he is telling folks in his party and the Australian public themselves to hide your stuff.
To play devil's advocate for a second, though, this technology is as available to us as it is available to him. There's, it's not like there's a different standard in terms of what we're being like, and metadata for him would be kept as much as metadata for anyone else. Is he putting himself in that different a position to the Australian public?
Oh, of course not. Everyone is entitled to their privacy, and I think that's what this move, if you can call it that, is designed to highlight, that Mr. Turnbull wants as much privacy for himself as he wants for the general public. It does seem like a sly wink and a nod to those in the know. Tim Morris, the assistant AFP commissioner, said last weekend that the pesky thing about law enforcement is that they can only jump in after a crime has been committed. What they want to be able to do is predict crime ahead of time. Now, there's something to be said for targeted surveillance of known suspects. It's another thing entirely to collect the metadata of 22 million Australians on the off chance that they might do something wrong in the future. I mean, it's really starting to look more like this sort of Minority Report future crime. And I think if we start going down that path, it's a really slippery slope.
And there is more on both Wickr encryption services and the brand new music service Undertone and the new Samsung S6. Is it all it's cracked up to be? Find out on the audio edition of Download This Show right now on the RN website. See you guys.